Hey everybody, if you're watching any of my videos, it'd be cool if you liked them, commented on them, asked questions, subscribe to the channel. Things I never thought I'd say because I never thought I'd make any videos. But today I wanted to share something that I'm thinking about that applies to everyone. Um, everyone, everyone could take something from this video because the things I'm thinking about are uh, talking about therapy now for a second. Attachment wounds. If you've ever heard of attachment wounds or attachment therapy, uh, that modality, everybody has attachment wounds, um, and everybody has access to nature. So this could apply to anyone, which I think is nice. But the thing I'm thinking about is is it possible that nature can help us heal from attachment wounds? And I think the answer is yes, with a qualifier. It can help, but with a qualifier. And I think the qualifier is our intention. I think the qualifier is how are we, quote unquote, using nature? Um, I'm always a little wary about the phrase using nature because we don't talk about using human beings, right? We talk about being in relationship with human beings, and so you know the idea of forming a bond with nature or forming a relationship with nature um, is where I think it can start to benefit and help us heal from attachment wounds. If you don't know what attachment wounds are, very basically, we all have them because we all grew up with imperfect caregivers. We all grew up, and some of us, on the extreme end, some of us were neglected uh, or abused, or we had a parent who wasn't emotionally available, wasn't physically there, couldn't see us for who we were, um, couldn't give us the care we needed, or the attention we needed, or the love we needed, or the physical comfort we needed. Right? We all have some version of this. Some of us have a lot of it. Some of us have maybe just a little bit of it. But nobody was raised by perfect parents. Yeah. And so when that happens when we're young, I think what happens is we start to form beliefs and ways of seeing the world, and things we tell ourselves to deal with things that that they're unhealthy. I mean, that's the best way to put it. So I might form a belief that I have to be a perfect. I have to be perfect and always do the right thing and never screw up, and then I can be loved, then I can be cared for, then I'll be understood. Right? The problem is that ain't never gonna happen. it's just not gonna happen. But we have a younger part of ourselves that believes that that's true. And so my question is, yeah, I can work with that in therapy. I can work with that in just forming loving relationships in my adult life. But I think at the end of the day, what helps heal attachment wounds is can I can I form a strong sense of my adult self that can help work with and bring healing to those misunderstood parts of me, those younger parts of me that whose needs weren't met. And can nature help me bring some of that healing? Going out in nature, right? When you read the studies, going out in nature will lower your cortisol levels. Beautiful. Going out in nature will lower your blood pressure, lower your heart rate. You'll feel a little more calm. These are all beautiful, like groundwork stage things that can be very beneficial and set the stage for us to do some work. But but nature is not just it's not like a pill, right? That you take, right? I go out in nature and I take these benefits, and now I'm better. That's good. I think that's a great start. But I think we can go a step further, and I think the step further involves forming a relationship, right? If we're talking about healing an attachment wound is about a broken relationship and the components that make up that relationship when we were young. The components that help a young person form ways to regulate their emotions. If I have healthy caregivers, I'm basically taught how to deal with stress. I'm taught how to see myself. I'm taught how to see the world, right? It's done through relationship. So if we're gonna interact with nature in a way that can help heal an attachment wound and help heal some of those misaligned ways that we've formed to see the world and ourselves, then I think that we need to take the step to form that relationship. And that's where I think some people need a little insight or need a little guidance, because we're not used to thinking about nature in that way, right? So when I take people out, we talk about you have to make some sort of contact with the land. It might be physical contact. It might be saying hello, right? But but that's different. If I walk down a trail, right, and I'm in a beautiful forest, that's beautiful. I feel that. I get that. But that's different than, coming up to the stream that I get to. And what if I start to just make contact? What if I put my hand? Oh, what do I experience then? I experience soft, cold, flowing. I experience something alive, in other words, in this case. So, I'm kind of holding a story that I want to tell, and I'll leave you with this story. It's a personal story, because it's easier than giving more explanations. I was out on the first time I ever did a fast out in nature, and I got to a point where I was just bored out of my mind. It was horrible. It was like physically painful boredom, and I sat with the boredom for a little bit, and I just said, what is under this boredom? And for whatever reason, again, being in the space, I had brought myself to this secluded forest, and I had made it my home. So I had made a connection with this space, and then out of the boredom came this thought that popped into my head, which was, if you're not perfect, you can't be loved. If you don't do everything right, you'll never actually be loved. That's an attachment wound. That's the attachment wound talking. And I broke down and I cried, but then I kept walking a little bit, and I found this big white pine, and it had these big arching branches low to the ground, and I just climbed up in it, and I told it my whole story, like my whole life, for like a couple hours, and it just held me. It was it was a very motherly tree. Did that heal all my attachment wounds? No, it did not. Was it a huge step, having that realization, bringing my story, being able to cry, being able to be vulnerable? Yeah. Did it matter that it was a tree and not a therapist or a best friend? No. In some ways, I think it I think it was more profound that I had found that space to be vulnerable and to be held and to share with that tree, with that land, in that space. Because it was something I can come back to again and again. I don't have to go to that tree. I don't have to go to that land. But I can keep building that relationship. So I wanted to tell that story to illustrate, yes, yeah, you can take a walk in the woods. I'm not Everyone should take a walk in the woods. I'm not discouraging you at all. But what would it be like to take the next step and consider that, wow, this forest, this tree, this river, this patch of grass here, this leaf, this insect, this animal I keep seeing, I wonder if it has something for me in terms of a relationship. I wonder if I wonder if I'm not actually separate from it, but it has some way to interact with me that can be beneficial for me and maybe vice versa. I'm going to talk more about this in some other videos about, ways to interact in that way with the land and with nature. But yeah, if you have any comments or thoughts on this, please share. Thanks for watching.